what kind of trust do I need to create for a child with a disability? We get this question all the time. I'm Mark Gilfix. I'm an estate planning attorney with Gilfix and Paul Associates. We're based here in California, in Palo Alto. We serve clients everywhere. We work with thousands of families, and we work with a lot of families with a child, a grandchild, a niece, and nephew with a disability, whether it's the autism spectrum, mental health issues, physical disability. And we get this question all the time. And we've helped come up with solutions for hundreds and hundreds of families. And the solution is relatively simple, but there's a lot of moving parts. And that is a special needs trust. If you have a loved one who has a disability, and the law just looks at disability in terms of employment, you don't need a specific diagnosis. It's, can you maintain substantial gainful employment? If you cannot, based on some condition, typically that means you are disabled in the eyes of the law. And why is this important? Well, it means that you could be eligible, or your loved one could be eligible for government benefits. Some are needs-based, meaning you can only get these benefits if you have under a certain amount of assets. And they'll look at your bank records and anything you own to make sure you're below these limits. And for some programs like SSI or Medicaid or Medi-Cal, the limits are ridiculously strict. Sometimes if you have more than $2,000 in assets, even if you're disabled, you cannot get these benefits. So there's an asset test, and of course, you have to have this issue that prevents you from maintaining employment. And we hear parents all the time say this: I'm afraid to die. And that's because they don't know who's going to take care of their loved one with a disability after they're gone. And again, a special needs trust is the solution here. So what does that mean in plain English? It means that when you pass away, you do not want to leave money directly to your child or grandchild with special needs or with a disability. Why? Well, I mentioned government benefits. If they inherit that money directly, that money belongs to them, and they are no longer eligible for these needs-based government benefits programs. So again, that's SSI, that's Medi-Cal, or some other programs in different states. So they lose these benefits, and they have to use the money they inherited to make up for those benefits, to pay for what they were getting from help from the government until that money's gone, and they get back on government benefits. And they end up in no better position than had they never inherited money altogether. A special needs trust solves this. Money in a properly drafted and structured special needs trust does not count as belonging to the beneficiary, your loved one with special needs, for government benefits eligibility purposes. So let's say you have a son and he has $1,500 in the bank and he has a serious mental health issue and he cannot work because of it. If he inherits $100,000, $1 million, $5 million, well, obviously, if that comes directly to him, he is way over that limit. He cannot get government benefits. If instead it goes to a properly drafted special needs trust, it does not count against the limit. Whether it's $5,000 in that trust, $500,000, $5 million in the trust, it doesn't count as belonging to him for purposes of eligibility. He can still get those benefits. The other big benefit of a special needs trust is that you name a trusted third party to oversee the trust for the benefit of your loved one. So depending on the type of disability, it may be a really bad idea for that child or that grandchild to manage their own assets. Special needs trust, they're not allowed to manage it. It has to be a third party. So you name someone, whether it's another relative, a trusted longtime friend, or a professional, whether that's a professional fiduciary, a bank trust department, an attorney, someone who oversees this trust for them and makes sure that no bad actors get access to it, that they can't be manipulated. So it's a benefit. Now, it's really hard to find trustees and to name the right trustee who can oversee the trust long after you're gone. That's a big discussion we always have with our clients. But a special needs trust is the right tool for this type of situation. It can be literally life-saving for many, many parents and their kids, because again, I'm afraid to die is something that's very real for parents with kids with serious disabilities. And a special needs trust can really provide so much peace of mind, because you know that you are leaving that financial safety net for your loved one with someone or some entity that you trust to oversee it for them, still allowing them to get government benefits. Now, the special needs trust is just part of a greater estate plan. The plan is only as strong as its weakest link. So you have to make sure, as the parent or the grandparent or the loved one, you need your own estate plan, because you need to make sure your assets will be protected, that they'll flow properly to that special needs trust after you're gone. That means you have to have your own revocable living trust, your own durable power of attorney for finance, your own advance directive. And your living trust really needs to link to that special needs trust. In plain English, that means, let's say you have a son named John Smith, and John has a serious disability that prevents him from working, your living trust should say, when I pass away, I'm not leaving money to my son, John Smith. I'm leaving it to the John Smith Special Needs Trust, or whatever you want to call it. It's also very important to update your beneficiary designations for retirement accounts, for life insurance policies, to coordinate with other family members to make sure if they want to leave money to your child to support them, they leave it to the Special Needs Trust rather than to your child directly. But a Special Needs Trust is the right tool. My father and I co-authored a book, Michael Gilfix and I co-authored a book about this subject. We think about it a lot. We do a lot of speaking about this, but let someone you know in your circle, whether it's you or someone you love, share this video. Let them know a Special Needs Trust is the right tool, and it can be life-saving for a child with special needs. So get that Special Needs Trust into place. Make sure you work with an expert. Don't work with some attorney who dabbles in this. Don't do it yourself. There are a lot of landmines here. Work with an experienced practitioner in the special needs space. Our firm, Gilfix has helped hundreds of families with this. Whether you work with us or not, make sure it's with a true expert in this space. But Special Needs Trusts are the perfect types of tools to protect that loved one with a disability after you're gone. Like, comment, share this with someone you know. Subscribe to our channel for more free legal and educational tips. And thanks for watching.